gentlemen, good day and welcome to Heritage Foods Q4 FY20 earnings conference call. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star and 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Dr. M. Sambashiva Rao. Thank you, and over to you, Doctor.
Thank you very much, and good evening. I welcome all the participants to the Q4 earnings call of Heritage Foods today. I particularly thank the participants for joining today in spite of the restrictions around our movements. I'm sure most of you must be joining from home, and we are still finding some members to join from our side because of the connectivity issues. Right now, Mr. Prabhakar Naidu, CFO. Good evening. Mr. Umakant, Company Secretary. Good evening. Mr. Sambamurthy, Head of the Dairy Business. Good evening. Myself, 4 of us are available, and Ms. Brahmani is trying to join the call, but she's unable to get through. Any minute she might be online. Now I start the highlights of the Q4 financial year 20. On standalone basis, we achieved a net turnover of 643 crores compared to 625 crores of the same quarter last year, with a 3% increase. The EBITDA for the quarter is 26.5 crores against 51 crores of the previous year's same quarter. And PBT of core business is 9.72 crores for this quarter versus 34.8 crores the previous same quarter. But if you take the impact of investment, the fair value impact of the investments of the company, PBT comes to negative 207 crores in view of the fall in the share price of the Future Retail Limited by about 375 rupees in this quarter on 1 crore 33 lakh shares attributed to the P&L. So that has created this negative impact at PBT level. Otherwise, the core business is 9.72 crores PBT for the quarter. And PAT is 6.79 crores on the core business. The full financial year on standalone basis for Heritage Foods net turnover is grown by 8%. That is 2,681 crores compared to 2,482 crores of the previous financial year. EBITDA for the current financial year is 140 crores against 192 crores of the previous financial year. So there is a core business is 70 crores. EBITDA 142 crores for the current financial year against 192 crores of the previous financial year. PBT for the core business during the current financial year is 72.4 crores versus 128.6 crores during the last year. After considering the fair value through P&L of the investments made in apparel, PBT for the current year is 144 crores negative versus 128 crores positive last year. This is again impacted by the fall in the share prices of Future Retail where we had investments. And PAT for the core business for the current year is 57 crores versus 83 crores of the previous financial year. Now I move on to consolidated results for the Q4. This includes Heritage Foods Dairy Business, Renewable Energy, and subsidiary company Heritage Nutrivet Limited, which handles feed business, which is a 100% subsidiary of Heritage Foods, and a trust of the Farmers Welfare, Heritage Farmers Welfare Trust. That numbers are also consolidated here. So at Q4 for the consolidated level, The net turnover is 653 crores against 635 crores of the previous year same quarter, with a 3% growth. EBITDA, quarter 4 consolidated level, 27.9 crores against 48 crores of the previous financial year. PBT, core business, 9.72 crores versus 34.82 crores last year. And PAT, 7.2 crores current year fourth quarter versus last year 20 crores. Now I move on to consolidated level results for the full financial year 1920. Net turnover of the company is 2,726 crores versus 2,515 crores, which is 8% growth of turnover. And EBITDA for the consolidated level, 135.5 crores versus 192 crores last year. And PBT at the core business level, 72.4 crores versus 100. Yeah, minus, what's the number? Yeah, 63.74 after adjusting HFWD's higher expense over income of 8 crores. And that is 48.4 versus 82.85 last year. So during this year, as you have seen, the overall margins were down compared to previous year, mainly attributable to the steep increase in the milk prices and prices of milk powder. Coming to the volumes, our procurement during the quarter 4, milk procured is 12.67 lakh liters per day versus 14 lakh liters during the previous year same quarter. There is a 9.5% drop in the volume procured. And sales volume during this year quarter 4 is 10.94 lakh liters per day versus 11.15 lakh liters last year. It's about 2% drop in the sale volumes. Value-added products, if you take, there is a growth of 6% during the quarter. That is 165 crores during this year quarter compared to 155 crores during the last year same quarter. The contribution of value-added products in this quarter is 26% versus 25% in the last year same quarter. Full financial year value-added products grew by 16.6% during this year. That is 619 crores to 722 crores during the current year. Contribution increased from 25% of last year to 27% during the current year. We have an annual 2% incremental increase of the value-added products contribution. Production capacities as on March 31st, 2020, we have chilling capacity of 20 lakh liters, processing capacity of 25.7 lakh liters, milk packing capacities of 17 lakh liters. Coming to the capex, during the current financial year, we have invested 107 crores in Heritage Foods and 3 crores in Heritage Nutrivet Limited. That's the current year's investment compared to last year. Last financial year, Heritage Foods invested 103 crores. Heritage Nutrivet invested 25.5 crores for a new cattle feed plant commissioned last year. Coming to the debt status, as on 31st March 2020, we have a long-term loan of 197 crores at HFL level, 15 crores for HNL, that is Heritage Nutrivet Limited. Working capital, we have utilized 83 crores in the Heritage Foods and 5 crores in the Heritage NutriVet. The total fund-based debt is 197 plus 83, 280 crores in Heritage Foods. In Heritage NutriVet, 15 plus 5, 20 crores. That's the total fund-based debt. These are broadly the highlights of this quarter and financial year. I now stop here and request the participants to give their suggestions, feedback, questions. Thank you very much.
Sure, Doctor. Thank you. So before that, just an update. We have Mrs. Brahmani also online with us now.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on the touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the questions queue assembles. First question is from the line of Nitin Gupta from Invest Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Can you repeat? I couldn't hear.
Yeah, I'm Nitin Gupta from Invest Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Hi team, I'm Nitin Gosar from Invest Mutual Fund. First of all, hope everybody at Heritage Foods is keeping safe and perfectly healthy. 2 questions from my side, sir. One is, I wanted to understand how does management sees milk business in current environment, and if you could touch upon different attributes while addressing this question with regard to procurement, distribution, pricing capability, or ability to price the product, plant utilization. 4-5 points if you can touch upon this.
You are referring to lockdown, post-lockdown situation?
It's not pertaining to this lockdown itself. It's more about, is the situation going to enable us, to further aggravate the way we do business, or is it going to be business as usual?
Basically, you're talking to post-lockdown only, right?
Yeah.
I just wanted clarity on that.
Yeah.
Certainly, I'll be explaining the details. First of all, thank you very much for your concern and inquiry. We are all safe. We are very happy to declare in the past 2 months with the kind of activities we have done to contain the spread of virus and the safety precautions we have taken as per the Government of India guidelines coming from time to time from Health Ministry. None of us have been affected by this virus personally, either at family level, personal level, right from our farmers who are supplying milk to our agents who are handling milk, drivers transporting, workers handling in the processing centers, distributors. Nobody, we have been keeping track of it. No one has reported any positive case, and we are operating in a safe environment. We have taken enormous steps to protect ourselves in terms of creating hand wash stations at every place with running water and soap, masks and distributed, sanitizers distributed, disinfectants sprayed in the plants, on the vehicles, and movement with the same precautions everywhere at office level, market level are planned. So we are very happy to declare we have been able to protect ourselves from this virus. Coming to business, entire supply chain is intact, right from village to consumer distribution. We have not stopped a liter of milk from our farmers during this period post-lockdown. Rather, it increased by 15% approximately. Our procurement operations were going on very smooth. We have taken all the permissions required as milk and milk products are declared as essential commodity in every state government and at the central government level also. So all over the operational areas, we have secured passes for operating our plants, vehicles, staff movement, etc. So no disturbance except for first 4 or 5 days of the initial period, March 24th to 30th, when system was not ready to accommodate these requests. They themselves were taken by surprise. We had difficulty in the first 4 or 5 days. But overall, at the end of it now, after 2 months, I would say, we haven't lost a liter of milk from our farmers. All the farmers have given more milk than what they were giving earlier. And we have been able to make timely payments all through this period, whether it is weekly or 10 days or 15 days. We have different areas, different practices. In certain areas, we make payments once in a week. In certain areas, we make once in 10 days. In certain areas, we make once in 15 days, going by the local practices. Money transfer has happened to all the farmers who have supplied milk. So coming to the plants, all 18 milk processing plants we have, every plant was functioning on all the days. Not even one shift we have closed the plant. It's a continuous 24-hour operation on all the packing stations and dairy factories. There was no impact of any nature, except, as I said initially, first 4 days we had some difficulties in vehicle movement. Milk tankers were waiting for longer time, the traffic issues and unloading issues, drivers issues. But 4 or 5 days we recouped everything and operations got normalized, and all the milk is processed immediately and distributed or stored. Certain days, certain areas we had excess milk. We converted that excess milk into milk powder and butter and stored for the usage in the future months. The shelf life is 1 year, so we have no problem in terms of the excess milk received. We converted and stored for our captive consumption purpose. Coming to the sale, all the markets we have been able to service inside home, at home consumption. We have been able to ensure uninterrupted supplies to all our consumers and distributors and the parlors, modern retail stores. We have lost some sales in the out-of-home consumption, in the malls, hotels, restaurants, railway stations, bus stations, whatever impulse products, ice creams, flavored milk, these are the value-added products we sell in the points of consumption outside home. Those volumes have dropped. Some items like ice creams dropped significantly. Certain items dropped somewhere. But now things are looking up and even ice creams are picking up. Otherwise, milk distribution, curd supplies, there were no issues at all. We have some setback of value-added product sale volumes. Talking about the way forward from now, our milk procurement, no issues. Factories, no issues. Sales are picking up. Demand is reviving even outside home. In most of the markets, the shops are open. The railway stations are open. Bus stations are open. Except restaurants and malls. All other places, consumption started happening outside home. So we do see in a few weeks' time, we will see the full revival of the demand for these essential products.
And sir, on pricing, are we getting the right price, or are we still running a gap on the pricing of the product?
Sale prices, there is no issue. They are continuing at the same level. Procurement prices, there were some drops in certain milk shed areas where there is a surplus milk and many people were not able to dispose. That benefit is coming to us, and that surplus milk we are converting into powder, and powder is now at a lower price compared to what it was in the month of March. That would help us in recovering the margins also in this quarter and later.
And sir, second question, pertaining to the aspirations that we had set out, how should we see it from the outside? We have seen in last 3 years 2 milk cycles, low milk and high milk cycles, and now we have COVID. Should we assume that the larger players like you or the corporate players like you are much more better off in last 3 years in terms of growing from here on? And in terms of capital, because of the encashment opportunity we had with one of the financial assets which we could have sold off and could have funded our capex. Do you think that opportunity not being visible right now, we can still continue with the capex program that we had laid out earlier?
Yeah, coming to the last point, encashment opportunity wasn't there. We are still in the lock-in period as far as the shares are concerned. 3 years lock-in period would be over in the next month.
Okay.
There was no opportunity earlier in case we wanted to encash, but now we see things may shape up and that might revive itself. That's something we have to watch out. Coming to the funding for the capex, we never depended on this for capex. What we have been planning for last 2 years and we planned for next 3 years also, around 100 crore capex per annum was what we anticipated to achieve our volume ambitions. That 100 crore was coming through debt funding and internal accruals. That if we want to pursue the same level of investment, capital is not going to be constrained without increasing our debt equity ratio. It would not be, currently it may be around 3.35 or so, our ratio. It won't be altering much. Our debt repayment and borrowings would be always matching or little plus or minus 10%. Internal accruals from debt funding model can support our growth plans. There is no need to look for the encashment of the investments. That's not going to be an issue for the growth. And as a sector, yes, we are better placed because our supply chain infrastructure, cold stores, cold chain, and brand strength is there to ensure inflow of milk, whatever milk we require. Last financial year was the most difficult year in terms of milk procurement because the production was low, availability was low. We were repeatedly representing the Government of India from December to March for import of milk powder duty free to meet the shortages in the country. That was the scenario we went through. So that low production cycle is over by March. And this year, of course, because of this change in the public health scenario, the shortage is now disappeared. It is now balancing. The milk availability and milk sale is balancing now. Another 2-3 months, we will go through the lean season of summer. There again, the deficit scenario may appear again if the demand revives. But from October, there should be normalcy in milk production and availability. As we went by a deficit year, we may come back to a normal year or even a surplus year for the next milk cycle commencing from October.
Thank you, Mr. Gosal. Request you to join the question for any follow-ups as we have several participants waiting for their turn.
Yes, sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Also, before we take the next question, I'd like to remind our participants, so in order to ensure the management is able to address questions from all the participants in the conference, please limit the question to 2 per participant. If time permits, you may join the question queue for any follow-up. Thank you. The next question is from the line of Bhargav from Kotak Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Wish good health and thanks for giving this opportunity.
Thank you. Your voice is a bit low. Can you keep phone closer, please?
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Excellent. Now it's perfect.
Yeah. So first of all, just wanted to clarify. Did you mention that the milk procurement has increased by around 15%? Why? I could not hear that properly.
Yes.
Okay. On a YOY basis, the milk procurement so far in the quarter is up 15%, right?
Yes.
Okay. Secondly, what could be the average milk procurement price and milk selling price so far in the quarter? Is it possible to share?
Quarter 4.
No, Q1. Yeah.
Q1, it's a bit early now. We will come back later.
Sure. But is it fair to say that?
I have the data. Only thing, regulations don't permit us to talk.
Sure. So is it fair to say that milk spreads should now sort of improve on a Q1Q basis, meaning in 1Q the spread should be better as compared to 4Q or still early days?
Yes. It will be better.
Awesome. Okay. Couple of more questions. One is that, is there any sort of seasonality in 1Q, meaning, do we have any dependence on marriage or HoReCa demand in this particular quarter?
For the value-added products, yes. There is a dependence on the markets to be normal. Like, there used to be a lot of consumption for weddings, functions, congregations, all that disappeared now for the value-added products.
And how much of that would be, sir? How much of the business would be that, sir, for us?
At least around 30% of the volumes of value-added products depend on these market openings.
Okay, sir. I'll come back in the queue and stay safe.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Prashant Kutty from Sundaram Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Good to know all of you are safe. So firstly, just a clarification. You said 30% of the volumes of value-added products is impulse and out of home. Is that the right assessment?
Yes, correct.
So it also includes ice creams and all of that stuff?
Yes, please.
So how much of it would have come back? Because you said that except for restaurants and let's say malls, most of them you said has come back. So what part of it would have come back as to you?
Maybe 5%.
Of the 30%, about 5-10% would have come back.
Yes.
Okay. So second, the first question is basically in terms of you said that the volumes in the quarter was impacted. Could you probably cite us the reasons for the same as to why our volumes impacted in the quarter? Is it because it's a daily essential product? There is nothing like a hoarding which happened or something towards the last 10 days or something of that sort. Any reason as to why volumes were weak? What was the expectation?
Broadly, two reasons we can say. One, the extreme weather conditions of this year compared to weather conditions of last year. Last year, February, March were very hot months. Summer was early. This year, March, there was no summer at all. It was a very normal month. Even in April, there was no temperatures rise outside. Only in the May month we could see. So there was a delay in the arrival of summer this year, and the temperatures were low. So the consumption of these summer-oriented products was low. Second, the last 7-8 days of March, there was dislocation due to the lockdown. So there was a drop in the sale in the last week of March.
Okay. So it's not for this
quarter was most affected because we were not organized for meeting the overnight lockdown imposition. It took 3-4 days even to realize how to organize, how to get into markets, and by the time we realized markets were shut. So the 1 week had an impact in the month of March.
Okay, because sir, the reason as to why I asked is
7 days out of 90 days.
True. No, the reason as to why I asked this is, sir, because one product which probably did not face any supply constraints even during the lockdown has been actually milk. So I was just wondering as to why should have milk be seen a...
Milk impact was related to out-of-home consumption.
Okay.
Home consumption was normal. Out-of-home also milk consumption happens in offices, restaurants, tea shops.
So that got impacted.
Functions, railway stations, airports, bus stations, everywhere milk consumption happens through beverages. So all offices were closed suddenly. So the entire milk consumption in the office is down. And that much consumption do not happen at home. So that's the impact of milk. Home consumption, absolutely no issue. Actually, it increased. Home consumption increased, but it did not substitute the lost consumption out of home. Imagine out of home how many times people take tea, coffee a day.
True. Got it.
Either a workplace or shops or markets, wherever you are. That is what has affected.
Okay, got it. So as per your estimate, sir, like you said, 30% of volume is value-added product, which is out of home consumption. How much would that be for milk, sir, as per your estimate?
It will be around 10% for us, but for some people it will be more. See, those people who depend on HoReCa segment, bulk suppliers, etc. Like a factory, for example. A factory is having 1,000 workers. There is a caterer who supplies food for them. There's a brand which supplies milk to their canteen. So that is gone because factory is closed.
Okay.
So like that in entire country, all the production points are closed, market points are closed. The milk gets consumed there also in a different form. It can be curd, it can be buttermilk, it can be supplied as milk, tea, coffee, everywhere that out of home consumption points have disappeared. Some companies depend more on that segment, some companies depend less on that segment. We depend less on that segment, therefore our impact would be lower on the milk. Some people depend more on that segment, their impact will be higher. But impact is similar on all the out-of-home consumption products.
For us, you said it's about 10%.
Yes.
My second and last question is on the EBITDA margin profile, sir. What was the EBITDA margin profile for the fourth quarter, or let's say for the year 2020 milk productive segment?
Yes,
and what's the outlook of that?
Answer to you.
Sure.
Good evening, sir. My name is Prabhakar. So EBITDA margin for Q4 1920, milk 1.58%. For full financial year, that is actually 2019-20, is 3.76%. Value-added products Q4 1920 is 10.86%, and for full financial year 11.12%.
And what would be the fat losses, sir?
Fat losses for Q4 12.56% loss, and for full financial year 9.63%. Thank you.
Thank you for that. What's the outlook on the margins, sir? Because while you said that procurement prices might come off a bit, retail prices have been up. So what's the outlook going forward on both milk and value-added products? Because why I'm asking this is also because while you said that out-of-home consumption is impacted, is there a case that your margin profile could be slightly better because in out-of-home consumption you had relatively lower margins? Is there a case like that also?
Margins would be better during this quarter this year for two reasons. One, the milk procurement prices are a bit down after the lockdown in certain markets, and the sales are improving in value-added products from last 1 week, 10 days. That will improve the margin profile of the quarter. SMP price also has come down, so that also as a cost of raw material for us is down.
Thank you. Mr. Prashant, request to join the question queue for any follow-up. Thank you. The next question is from the line of Percy Panthaki from IIFL. Please go ahead.
Hi, good evening, sir. First question is, during the quarter, your milk procurement volumes were down around 10%. So can you just tell us what is the reason for this decline?
There's a shortage of milk availability, as I explained earlier. During this year, it was one of the lowest production and availability year, wherein all the companies in the country represented the Government of India for import of milk powder because we were not able to source milk. And one or two situations, Government of India also had convened meetings of all dairies in the country and about to take a view on the imports for the summer. Then this lockdown happened and the situation has changed. So the whole issue of the financial year was less availability of milk due to various factors.
Okay, understood. And while you said that after lockdown the procurement prices have come down, but as they stand today, are they actually lower on a YOY basis? That means 12 months ago, the price that was there for procurement versus what you're paying today. Is today's price actually lower?
Yes.
Okay. So just putting two and two together, if basically your final output price is going to be higher YOY and your procurement price is lower YOY, you should see a gross margin expansion YOY for Q1.
Yes.
Okay, sir. Secondly, just wanted to understand this future retail shares. What is the status on that?
We have 2 crore 78 lakh shares in their company, and our lock-in 1 crore 78 lakh shares are in that company. The lock-in period of 3 years will be ending in the month of June, so we will have freedom to sell from the July onwards. We haven't taken any view on that because of the current price scenario of the scrip.
Okay. I thought the lock-in ended on 1st of April. That's not the case, is it?
There are certain formalities for completing the closing day. So some limited issues were there. It extended up to June. That is, at the 2017 June, we completed all the requirements to fulfill the definition of the closing day. Though technically it was 31st March we handed over the business. 1st April onwards it would be 3 years. So this April 1st would be the completion of 3 years. But the definition in the agreement is some closing day formalities are there. The listing of shares and allotment of shares, registration of certain properties, etc. That was over in June. So therefore, we have to take reference date from June to this year June.
Bookkeeping question. Your overall sales growth is 3%. Your volumes are down 2%, which would mean that pricing is around +5%. But actually, your pricing, at least for liquid milk, is +14%. So why are these numbers not adding up?
You have to see the period of comparisons. Which period to which period you are comparing is the issue.
All three numbers which I spoke about are YOY numbers. So your volumes are down 2% YOY. Is that right?
No. Volumes are not down 2% YOY. That was Q4 of FY20.
Q4 of FY20 compared to Q4 of FY19, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so that is down 2%. Your sales over the 3%, and the pricing is up 14%. So these three numbers are not sort of matching. I think the missing item is the fat sales. So if my calculation is correct, the fat sales versus Q4 19 would be down quite materially. Then this would tally. So is that correct? And if so, can you give me the numbers?
So if we could put it this way, that the milk procurement price for the fourth quarter of the past financial year increased by 17.11% compared to the year before. Our realizations increased only by 13.66%. So the gap, according to these numbers, would be 3.5%, something like that.
Sure. Thank you. Mr. Pandit, we request you to join the question queue for any follow-up as we have several participants waiting for their turn. The next question is from the line of from Rajesh Shivakumar from Unifi Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Sir, in Q4, we saw that the liquid milk sales were down by 2%, while the curd sales, I'm talking about the volume number, while the curd sales were down by 7%. In Q1, we have a higher bar if you take Q1 FY20. Do you think you can match last year's Q1?
Last year's Q1 has a different set of factors compared to this year. Last year Q1 temperatures were very high. We had an extended summer till June end. Monsoons came in July. This year's summer Q1, we have pandemic around us and monsoon is announced by 1st June. 1 month early arrival of monsoon compared to last year. So the last year's volumes, this year volumes will not be comparable, mainly because of this lockdown issue and the weather factors.
Okay. Are you seeing better offtakes because weather has turned adverse for the last few weeks in May?
But the people are not outside, no?
Okay. Sir, and can you give the procurement price at which you exited March? Because obviously you're saying you can't give the current price, but you can give the exit price as on March 31st, 2020, right?
Yes.
Because 38.46 is the average for the full quarter.
Exact March month.
We can give you the average number for milk procurement.
So the reason why we are asking this is because obviously the exit rate should be much lower than the average that we are staring at, and this should help us calculate how the scenario would look like in Q1. That is the reason why we are asking the drop in procurement price.
So, I mean, I do have the average numbers currently available, but I think our team will have to come back to you on the exit numbers.
Sure, I'll reach out to them. And coming to these future retail shares, so would you continue to have that derivative instrument which would continue to offset the movement in the underlying shares?
Accounting treatment?
Yes.
No.
Can you repeat the question, sir?
So basically, till now we are offsetting the movement in the underlying shares using the derivative instrument, right? Post this M2M loss which we took, would you continue to offset that movement in the MTM of those shares?
In the fourth quarter, the entire upside sharing is actually has been written back. So there is no upside sharing because if the price comes down below 240 rupees, so till 240 rupees, actually there is no P&L account impact. If the price comes down to below 240, as on 31st March, the FRL price is 78 rupees 35 paise. So last year, the derivative liability that is related to upside sharing is 294 crores. That has been reversed actually in this financial year because the price has come down to 78 rupees. Last year the price was 450 rupees. Now the price is 78 rupees. The difference is 375 rupees. So the 375 rupees multiplied by 1 crore 33 lakh shares, which is any fair value change in on 1 crore 33 lakh shares, should be routed through P&L. So then investment price difference is 511 crores. Then offsetting is 294 crores. Net is 217 crores is recognized in the P&L as an expenditure. Net affected by in the P&L profitability.
Okay. So till the price of 240, it will be open, right?
Till 240, below 240, it affects the P&L. Above 240, it doesn't affect the P&L. Only OCI is going to be affected.
Okay. And from now on, would you take MTM on a quarterly basis, assuming it moves?
We recognize it. Suppose now it is 78 rupees. It increases to 80 or 85 rupees. P&L is going to be with positive number.
Got it. So what is the, are we having any high cost SMP on our balance sheet?
There's nothing called high cost SMP because it gets valued quarter to quarter. That is on the market.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Pradesh Kumar from Insight Edge. Please go ahead.
Thanks for the opportunity. I have few questions. I'm just rephrasing the previous question. If we can get few change in our milk procurement price, if you are in a position to reveal that will also be very helpful.
Sorry, how do you like to know?
Few change in our average milk procurement price. Q1 FY21 versus Q4 FY20 average. If it is possible.
Q1, I don't know whether it is possible.
So far, Q1 so far.
This is Brahmani here. The data point that we have.
We are also in the market. Is it right to talk Q1 numbers today?
What I meant, sir, Q1 so far, not exactly complete Q1. Till date, whatever has been average procurement price.
Even today, even as of today also, I mean, I've been guided not to talk Q1.
Then it's okay. It's pretty okay. I can understand.
So what we can give you is full year last year versus Q4 last year, since those numbers are available and we're able to share.
Okay.
So the full year of FY20 procurement price average was 35.55 rupees per litre, which in Q4 was 38.46.
Okay. Second thing is for our CFO, I mean, if he could explain me this other comprehensive losses, I mean, what portion of the investment has been routed through this other comprehensive losses and what has been routed through normal P&L? That will be great help.
So to explain that, in the 2017-18, the company policy, whatever the shares they have allotted, FRL has allotted 1,78,00,000 shares. Out of that, 75% of shares, that is actually 1,33,84,000 shares. Any fair value change in these shares, it is to be routed through P&L, and the remaining shares, 44,62,000 shares, any fair value change between the reporting periods, that is routed through OCI. So in the full financial year 2019-20, P&L is impacted with 217.12 crores and OCI is impacted with 170.59 crores.
Okay. And what has been the advertisement expense for FY20? FY20, the year gone by.
And that is in 1920, the total for the full financial year, P&L is impacted 217 crores and OCI is impacted 170 crores, 170.59 crores. This is for full financial year. For the fourth quarter also, because up to third quarter there is no P&L impact.
Okay.
So the entire P&L impact has resulted in fourth quarter only. That is also for the full financial year 217.12 crores. But OCI for full financial year 170.59. Up to third quarter there was some positive number. So that is the reason in fourth quarter OCI figure has come down from 170 crores to 117.99.
Okay.
Fourth quarter.
Okay. And what has been the advertisement expense for FY20, 19-20?
Yeah, it's about, this is Brahmani here. The expense was 0.3% of the turnover for marketing expenses overall, which includes artwork, point of sales material, promotions, and retainership for agencies, advertisements if any, and all of these things. Anything that digital marketing expenses, etc. So overall marketing expenses were at about 0.3% of the turnover.
About 8 crores in rupee value.
Yes.
So we expect this number to hold for FY21 as well?
It might go up. We will monitor after the markets open up. Now the campaigns are not possible anywhere except online. So once the markets open up, we'll have to review the situation to rebuild the demand. We may have to spend some resources on that.
Thank you, Mr. Kumar. Let's request you to join the question before his format. The next question is from the line of Vishal Chopra from UTI Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Good afternoon. Thanks for taking my question. So as you said that last 7 days of the business was dislocated. Possible to share what was your milk volume growth and the value-added products growth in, say, Jan and Feb, if you don't consider March, just for Jan and Feb?
January, Feb growth. January to January, February to February. Data points are not readily available month-wise. We can give later.
Okay. So exact number, if it's not there, it's okay. But just as a trend, was the value-added product growth, say, in Jan, Feb in double digits? I mean, we reported 6% for...
usually growth comes in February, March for value-added products after the winter season is over. In the markets we operate, January is still considered as winter only. February, March are the 2 months where we really get the growth. These 2 months this year, the last period, the temperatures were not high. The summer was late. So that's why we couldn't see any growth in that. Secondly, aggravated by...
No, so I understand. But anyways, we are looking at all numbers on YOY basis. If Jan, it's on Jan of last year. But anyways, I'll take those numbers offline if you don't have that readily available.
Yeah, readily month by month we don't have. We have quarter.
Yeah. I just wanted to check whether the Jan Feb combined numbers still had decent growth like we had earlier in value-added products and all. So I'll take the numbers later. Secondly, I think this was asked earlier also. So in the fat revenue, the fat sales we do, how much was the fat sales in this quarter?
Okay, just a moment.
And if you could give the corresponding number in the same quarter also, Q4 of last year.
Fat turnover you are talking about, sir?
Yes.
23.59 crores is Q4 of current year. And last year it was actually 64.36 crores.
So, okay, there's a big decline in that. That's what actually explains. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. That's because there was no surplus milk this year compared to last year.
Correct. And lastly, I understand, obviously we have constraints in setting the Q1 number, but just if you, as a trend, what we saw milk volume, liquid milk volume decline in Q4. In Q1, at least, are we seeing growth or are we still in degrowth?
Discuss Q1 later, if you don't mind.
Thank you.
Each one of you are trying to approach differently, but I am bound by this statute.
Yes, thank you. The next question is from the line of Viraj Mehta from Equirus PMS. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Sir, just wanted to understand that the shares that we have of FRL, post 400 crore, we were supposed to split the profits 50-50 till 500 crores. And post 500 crores, the profits belonged to the future. Now, what I want to understand is the decision and the price at which we could sell. Is it solely in our control, or does the contractual agreement say that they will have a say in our selling price and time? Because they also have a percentage of profit after a price.
No. They have no say. It is freedom of Heritage to time it whenever Heritage wants to sell at whatever price. They have no say in that.
Okay, I got it. And so the second question I wanted to ask was, is the margins in HoReCa segment for us lower, and our percentage of HoReCa both in DADP and in milk, if you can quantify?
We don't have HoReCa sales directly. Our sales are point of sale consumption I'm talking. That is the malls, hotels, restaurants, shops, street side, all these sales have disappeared. But some of our distributors do sell small quantities to these hotels and restaurants nearby. Our margin structure remains same wherever they sell. There is no difference in the margin structure for company. Some of the distributors do undertake supplies to some canteens, some hotels in their localities, but we don't have a direct HoReCa activity with the company.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Suresh Pardeshi from Centrum Broking. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Rao, Prabhakar. Thanks for the opportunity. Yeah, good evening. Just two questions. If I do the arithmetic difference between your procurement price is 38.46 and milk sales is 46.26, so I get a difference of 5.8 for Q4. So if the spread is large in the positive territory for Q1, or it is lower than that number?
This quarter?
Yeah, Q1 of FY21.
Current quarter we are not discussing, sir.
No, I don't want the number. I'm just saying, is it positive or it is lower than 5.8?
I will read the rule book again. Somewhere I have lost the rule.
Okay. Let me not harp on. We have seen the value add.
Get the rule book once. What is permitted, whether trends,
Mr. Rao, it's okay, fine, no problem. We are more curious because the competition has said that.
I fully agree with you. I wish I had all the freedom to talk.
No, Mr. Rao, the reason why I'm asking, your competition has declared these numbers and they said that they have a lot of benefits. Now, you being a listed entity, you are running by the rule book. I have no issue on that. So let me ask the then other question. We said that in Q4 we had the run rate of 165.5 for value add. This number looks bit lower if I look at the past. Can you break up which segment is or what sub-segment growth is lower?
Yeah, he wants 165 breakup. Which product grew, which product did not grow.
Valued products.
Valued.
Third. Q4 to Q4.
Sorry, we're just trying to figure out. Please.
Q4 to Q4, curd from 126 crores of last year Q4 to 138.34, sir.
Okay.
And main product is that. And there are other products are also there. Can I read it?
Yeah. Yes, please.
Then buttermilk, there is a slightly degrowth from 4.34 crores to 3.03 crores. Then paneer has gone up from 6.4 to 8.68.
Okay.
There are other small products are there. From 155 to 165 crores.
Okay, got it. Just follow up on that. What is the ice cream sale, if you can provide Q4 versus last time this?
Middle only the turnover.
Around 20. Yes.
Uh, 4.54 crores current quarter, sir. Q4 1920.
Okay. And last year?
Last year number 1.1. Last year 5.72.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, due to paucity of time, that would be the last question for today. I now hand the conference over to Dr. N. Sambashiva Rao for closing comments. Thank you, and over to you, Dr.
I once again thank all the participants for showing interest in our brand and company, and assure you as much information as possible I will be sharing. I will also recheck how much more I can pass on during this running quarters. We would like to give certainly every information that is permissible, be as transparent as possible. We as a company believe in transparency and accountability. We'll see both aspects and come back in future months, future calls. Thank you once again for participating in spite of the regulations around on working timings and movements, etc. And wishing you all a good health and take all precautions from this fast spreading virus in India. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Heritage Foods, that concludes today's conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your line.